Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 27 of What If Naruto was a direct descendant of the sage. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on social media platform, and also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was neglected with Jashin sealed within him, and enjoy that guys. And I also posted a brand new episode over Anime King 2 of What If Naruto was neglected and lost everything. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last part we left off, as Naruto was facing off against Sasori. While that was going on, the Rokibai had broken free. As Fu didn't know what happened, only that the thing exploded. The power surging through the entire town, as the thing started to fire with acid everywhere. But that was not her main problem at the moment. She had to face off against Deidara. The both of them were clashing violently. Given the fact that Fu could fly, he couldn't really get away from her, as she ended up tearing through his bird that he created, drop kicking him right down to the ground. But Deidara had created a substitute clone there for her, as it blew up right on her. She was dazzled as Haku came over with Teiwaya. She had third-degree burns marked on her arm, but Komi was taking care of them. Meanwhile, Naruto had completely disassembled Sasori and all of his puppets. As he held Sasori, the man couldn't move as he couldn't feel his chakra coursing through the equipment in his heart. He was confused. Before he could say or do anything else, something was pierced right into him. As Naruto felt it, something came and flickered away so quickly. As Sasori fell dead as a kunai had pierced right through his heart. Naruto was then attacked by the Rokibai as he had to restrain it in chains. His friends then came as the Rokibai started to create a giant Biju bomb. It threw it as Naruto had to stop it, but the thing was not going back, as he had to absorb it as he leaped forward. His body was smoldering after he was done, but at least he absorbed it. He didn't know what happened with the Rokibai, but he could no longer sense Utakata at all. He had no idea what happened, so he had only one choice. He had to seal it within himself. After that was over, he asked the Bijus what happened, as they didn't tell him anything. They weren't willing to share what happened in the Rokibai. The thing was nothing more than a mass of chakra inside the cell, as it was reforming inside. It will take a while. Meanwhile, the masked man, he was the one that had cut down Sasori. Seeing that the boy had Sasori at his complete advantage and could get any information he wanted from him, he had to take him out of the equation, as he had brought back Deidara with him as well. Deidara, who was in a bad, messed up state, as he was lucky that he escaped by switching himself with a clone. Meanwhile, Kakazo and Hidan were currently on the east coast getting a boat, as Hidan had no idea why the hell they were taking a boat. But as long as he get to slaughter people for his Lord Jashin, he did not care. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So this is this new episode. The wind whistled loudly through a large canyon, a deep trench that split the earth. It was like some great wound. High up on a rocky cliff, 5 men stood there as they looked down towards a small temple that was in the corner of the canyon. The 5 of them, their strange grey clothing moving with the wind, almost hypnotical. The one with the long black hair and the goatee looked as he saw the 2 men guarding the temple with a vicious look in his eye. Yes, this is the night our dark Airyu Jutsu was made for, he said. The night I've been waiting for. Morio-sama will be proud of us. He threw his arms up as he walked back to stand behind his subordinates, grinning madly. No time for your prescription. His chakra flared as vine tentacles burst from the earth and stabbed into the neck of the four men behind him. The tentacle had a strange purple aura, a strange chakra that looked vile. The four men winced before they flexed their muscles. They could feel the new overwhelming power flowing through their system, making them stronger, faster, better. Now go and serve Moriyo-sama this night. The four of them leaped off the cliff going down, as the man with the goatee stood there with a cocky smirk on his face. Yes, tonight was the night. Meanwhile, a scream tore from her throat as she instantly pulled herself up from the bed. Her purple eyes with no pupil. It was a young teenage girl. She was around 15 years old. As she was sweating, she sat there for a moment looking at nothing. As her footsteps could be heard, someone was rushing towards her position. The sliding door was thrown open by a man, short, brown hair, who seemed to have just gotten up, given the fact that his clothes were all wrinkly and messed up, as he was trying to straighten it as he moved. Shin-sama, are you okay? The man said. The girl didn't say anything for a few seconds. Her head then turned as she looked towards the man. As she wiped away some of the sweat, it was nothing to her. I just had another vision. The young man's face saddened slightly as he looked at her. Oh, I shall tell the unfortunate soul in the morning then. The girl, now known as Shin, simply nodded. The man bowed quickly as he took his leave back to his own room. Shin lay back down as she knew that she would not be getting more sleep that night. Finally, a confused sigh escaped her lips as her purple eyes narrowed. Just who are you? Naruto Uzumaki, she thought. Time skip. As Shin did not move. The air of the temple was stench with smoke because the place was burning. As she looked at the guard that tried to save her, his face twisted up in a painful look, as he had died. As the foreman was advancing towards her, she did not flinch. She just kept her steady gaze. Ah, pretty little priestess, your life is ours now. She did not react to them at all, as Toru backed up with a sword in his hand. All of the men walked forward with a smirk on their face. Until, hello? Even Shin had to blink when a mop of blonde hair came around the corner of the door, ripple eyes blinking confused. Am I interrupting something? He fully entered as the light was showing his body as a silhouette. Only his ripple eyes could be seen. Who's this? One of the four men, the blue marking going up his face, asked. Nobody important, just an interloper. Setsuna, deal with him. It was the leader of the group that spoke. He was probably the only one that looked normal, with long white hair. The one known as Setsuna, with spiky blue hair and markings all over his face, nodded, his eyes diluted. Certainly, Kusena. As the man threw a wall of shuriken towards Naruto, with wind chakra fused around them, all of their eyes widened when the projectiles stopped right from him, 2 inches, before clattering down to the floor. Excuse me, I was looking for the priestess of the shrine. Someone called Shin, I believe. If it didn't shot them so easily, he dismissed those weapons. The way he spoke and completely ignored them did. At this point, not even Shin could contain herself. She was very in tune with chakra and she could feel it rushing through this teen. But he was trying to keep it suppressed. But she could feel it breaking through like a dam. That's me. Naruto smiled as he walked into the room. The 4 ninjas took a step back, reaching for kunais, some of them going into hand seals. As Naruto simply ignored all of them, as he bowed right in front of Shin. I'm honored. The lady of the shrine would allow me access. It was normal for her to do this, but she was still surprised. I am humbled by your honor, and I gladly accept it, traveler. Naruto looked up with a kind smile that set Shin off guard. How could anyone feel so calm and act so calm in a situation like this? She knew her way, but she does not understand. The ninja with the blue markings on his face moved forward. Oi kid, what's your problem? Can't you see that we're busy? The man stepped back in complete surprise. The blue markings leaving his face. His now normal eyes widened as he looked at his hand in shock. What's going on? The chakra! It's gone, the man said. Complete shock. As they saw the chakra smoking off Naruto's palm. I won't be doing that again. Whatever that chakra is you're using to strengthen your body is really vile, said Naruto. The leader of the group scowled as the last of the chakra vented from Naruto's palm, flowing out in the air harmlessly. How dare you impugn a gift from Yumi-sama? The leader rushed forward, strange purple snakes coming from his back to attack Naruto as he moved. Naruto raised his hand. It's rude to enter the chambers of a priestess without invitation. Kusuno felt like he ran into a steel wall as he was stopped right in front of Naruto. It only lasted for a moment though as he felt his chest collapse as an unseen force sent him sailing. He couldn't even scream because all the air was violently forced out of his lungs. Kusuno, his companion, stared in shock at the small dot that was still sailing through the air. Then one by one, they slowly turned their head to look at Naruto. "Leave," said Naruto. They quickly left, grabbing their comrade, their leader, on the way. Naruto watched him go as his emotionless facade vanished away. He couldn't understand how Fu could hold it that long. Why did you let them escape? As Naruto ignored Shin for now, as he went over to the man, he was not dead. The one that was bleeding, a large wound in his back. Shin frowned as he just dismissed her question like that, as she shifted into a more upright position. "I asked you a question, Monk-san." Naruto simply waved her off. As a tick mark grew on her forehead, she's never been ignored like this before. "I said I asked you a question, Monk." As Naruto turned his head, "I'm afraid I'll have to ignore you, Maiko-sama," he said. "This man requires medical attention more than you need the answer." And just like that, his hand started to glow green. Shin simply let out a small scoff. "There's no point. He will die. I foresee it." As Naruto frowned, she was right. The man's spine has been completely severed. In fact, the only thing that was keeping him alive was the anger that he lay. Naruto's hand lit up again in green flames. "I already told you." It was Naruto raised a hand, silencing her. "I know, I'm simply easing his pain. No reason he has to die in agony, is there?" As the injured man released a relieved sigh, his chest rose and dropped for the final time. Naruto reached forward and closed the man's eyes as he shifted the man's body in a more good position. The young man that was standing beside Shin finally spoke up. Monk-san?" As Naruto stood up as he turned his eyes towards them. "Yes?" The man was a bit surprised by the casual answering. As he quickly bowed his head, "I would like to formally thank you for your aid in repelling those intruders from the shrine, and I would like to ask, is there anything I can do to repay your favor?" "That won't be necessary," he said. They could understand that he was a monk, although some place warm for me and my friends would be appreciated. Toru nodded, but he paused as he glanced beside Naruto to see if someone was there, hiding in plain sight. "Oh, sorry," said Naruto. "My friends are helping to quell the various fires outside. They should be here shortly." Toru simply nodded. "Now, Monk-san, I assume there was a reason for you to visit our humble shrine. Perhaps to pay your respect to Shin-sama." As Naruto chuckled softly at that, taking Toru back at the assumed slight at the young priestess. "I meant no disrespect. I merely laughed because you seem to underestimate yourself. The small village I stayed in last night here spoke very well of the shrine here. They told me that it brought Onigakuni and the surrounding lands nothing but good luck for the past few centuries." Toru simply nodded as he wondered how many strange encounters were they gonna get today. "Answer my question, Monk," said Shin. She had enough of being ignored. "Why did you let those men escape? You clearly have the capacity to detain them. They might pose a threat to me here in the future." Naruto turned towards her fully. "I'm afraid I'm not a shinobi, Maiko-sama," he said. "It is outside of my authority to detain criminals, especially when I don't know what their crimes were." Her face remained perfectly neutral, but the hint of irritation that entered her eyes was there. It seems he was mocking her in some way, and he was just too polite about it. But what she didn't know was Naruto has already made a strong opinion of the girl, of her lack of care for subordinate's death, her complete disregard of him healing, and helping the dying man pass on peacefully. It is almost like she saw no value in the life of another human being. He really hoped that wasn't the case though. "You still should have done something, Monk," she said. He simply just smiled, as he was not rising to her taunt. "I apologize. Next time, I will both save your life and capture the attackers." Shin snorted, but she managed to make it seem rather calm and collected. "You were unnecessary. Toru here was perfectly ready to offer his life to buy me the time to escape." She pushed the panel behind her to show that it was a small passageway to be used in case of emergency. However, Naruto's eyes darkened a bit at the casual way she said it. When it regards the man's life, his tone became a bit icy. "Well then, I think it was a good thing I came along then, Toru-san." As he spoke, his eyes never left Shin. She was looking away. At least she finally got some reaction out of him, other than that stupid smile. Toru saw the tension brewing between them. He stepped forward and patted Naruto on the shoulder. "Very well, Monk-san. Naruto returned back to normal, with his eyes crunching up into a smile. Naruto Uzumaki, he said. Toru nodded as he led Naruto from the room. Yes, Naruto. I will show you and your companions to our room shortly. For now, I ask you to wait outside while I discuss something with Shin-sama. The blonde nodded with a shrug, as he saw no harm in it. Even Abuta lost his patience by the third time, and Shin was pushing towards it. Toru released a sigh of relief as he closed the paper door. Toru, why are you allowing him to stay here? The attendant smiled as he was used to her mood swings by now. He did save your life, Shin-sama. A room for the night is little of her repayment. The girl simply puffed, but Toru knew better. He knew there was a scared, lonely girl inside of her that couldn't connect with anyone because of the power and her isolated childhood that she got of being the priestess of Onokuni. Very well. What of Konoha then? Has there been any word on the shinobi that they promised us? I still require an escort to Numinokuni, she said. Toru winced. That was the bad news that he was coming to give her. I'm afraid that their aid is impossible, Shin-sama. Her eyes widened a bit, confused. She didn't think of shinobi much before, but they had paid a substantial amount for the escort mission. Sealing off that man's body, Moryu, was essential. Do they not understand the gravity of the situation if Moryu was to return? She trailed off as she remembered what her mother had told her when she was a girl, of what the Maiko of Onokuni protect the world from. Toru nodded, as there wasn't a single person that didn't know the stories of the great demon, Moryu. I'm afraid there was some attack on Konoha. They had to recall all shinobi for its defense. Shin scowled. This was probably the worst time for anything like this to happen. We must simply move out with a contingent of your own guards, said Toru. You're right, Toru. He was surprised, her agreeing so quickly. We have to rely on our own resources on hand, she said. Time skip. Naruto stared up at the ceiling. He had come here trying to find out some information on the Jews, but all he found out was this arrogant little girl that knew nothing about a human life or the value of one, disregarding the sacrifice of her attendants like they had no meaning at all, like they were just disposable things to die in her place. His thoughts were derailed though when Fu shifted a bit as her head was on his chest, including her right arm. He just smiled as he brought a hand and moved the bang that was in her face. There was a small smile on her face. He loved when she slept, as she was honest with her feelings, releasing her true smile. There was also the noise that she made while she was sleeping. Cute little noise. Suddenly, the door opened as Fu shut open her eyes. As she was a light sleeper, things like being invaded always woke her up. No need to worry, girl that traveled with the monk. It is just me. Naruto's eyebrow raised as Shin slipped into the room. It wasn't because she was there. It was because of what she was wearing. Instead of her Maiko regalia, she was wearing simple civilian clothing, a white shirt, stopping right at her midsection, and red shorts that rolled up at her knees. And she was wearing a yellow jacket over that were too long for her, evidenced by the sleeves, covering her hands, and her hair was done up in a ponytail instead of the crown that she was wearing earlier. Maiko-sama, it's a pleasure, he said, as he gave a curt nod. He felt like he was a bit too hasty. The girl simply scoffed. Don't be so foolish, monk. This is not a matter of pleasure. Her eyes lowered towards Fu, who was right there with Naruto, eyeing the newcomer. I thought monks were a celibate. Are you as lenient with the other tenants of that life? Naruto simply smiled as he placed a hand around Fu's shoulders, surprising, but not displeasing her. My master was very understanding when it came to matter of the heart. I see no reason for the life I've chosen, the path I've walked, to exclude love. As Fu's cheek became a bit red, but she was still looking at the new girl that came in. Shin was a bit ruffled, as she hoped to get a rise from him, yet he was just so calm. In any case, you should pack what little you have with you. You are to escort me to Numinokuni. Naruto blinked once, and then twice. She became a bit tense as she could not tear herself away from his orbs, his eyes seeming like they were looking right into her soul for some reason. Could I ask why? Fu looked towards Naruto as she was surprised that he was considering this outrage order. After all, he was never one to just accept something like that. Orders especially. Shin simply sighed. If you must, I am to perform an ancient sealing ritual to strengthen the seal placed on the body of a strong demon named Moryu. Those 4 shinobis were underling of the man trying to resurrect the demon, and I will need your protection if any other danger comes my way. Should I fail, this land and every other land will come under a kingdom of darkness for thousands of years. The room went completely silent. The both of them looked at each other. He simply shrugged. Okay. Shin was confused. She didn't even talk about her reward for risking their life for her yet, as he was under no obligation to help her, but okay. Naruto simply nodded as he stood up, making Shin blush. Seeing that he was only wearing his baggy pants, Fu's eyes became narrowed as she glared at the girl, as Shin was staring at his chest. Shin could feel the eyes on her as she stopped looking at Naruto's chest. Sure, said Naruto. I have a lot to do in my lifetime. 1,000 years of darkness would make that rather inconvenient. As he put on his shirt and tied back his hair, Fu sighed as she did the same thing. Well, at least she wasn't completely naked. And this girl just barged in. When Naruto made up his mind, there was little that could really change it or really stop him, so she shrugged. What? Just like that? Naruto tied his forehead protector as he turned around. Why not? Shin struggled to come up with an answer. He was giving her exactly what she wanted without asking anything in return. So why was she hesitating? However, I will ask, why me and not the many guards that you have at your beck and call? She recovered as she held up her nose. They will only hold me back. My attendants, even Taro, are no match for that shinobi. However, you have proven that you're able to defend yourself and even counter them. So you're the best option. He looked at her for a moment before he smiled. And I assume that you're asking me in the middle of the night because your attendants and Taro would disagree with these statements. She became a bit flustered as he was dancing around the topic even though he already said that he would do it. That doesn't matter, they will only hold me back and get themselves killed in the process. Her eyes widened as she realized what she just let slip in her own little outburst. But he simply continued to smile. I see. She glared at the boy, the little voice in her head telling her that she was showing too much of her emotion. She ignored that voice for now. You see nothing, monk. Now hurry up and gather your belongings. We leave right away, she said. With that, she stormed into the room, still being quiet so she wouldn't wake her attendants. When the door was shut behind her, he started to chuckle. Fu looked at him oddly. What was that about? Naruto simply sighed amused as he looked towards the direction that Shin had moved off to. It seems I had judged our little priestess too early. Come on. We need to wake Teiwai and Haku. Time skip. Okay. Naruto sighed. Let me get this straight. As he heard Teiwai starting up a rant about what they were doing, the four of them plus Shin had left the temple around midnight, while the moon hung in the sky. We're heading to the swamp place to seal away the body of an ancient big-ass demon, because some idiots are trying to resurrect him. Naruto nodded. So far she didn't seem to be angry, just tired. As Teiwai was really not a morning person, as it was really showing. It is called Numi no Kuni. Get the name right, you credent. Teiwai growled, but she said nothing as Shin berated her. As Shin had turned her attention towards Teiwai, who was easy to rile up, seeing that she couldn't get Naruto to rile up. Right, Numi no Kuni, big ass demon, resurrecting idiots. Anyway, we're going there because of this brat. Shin sneered at the girl, told us that if she doesn't perform a sealing ritual over the demon's body, then the world will fall under some 1,000 years of darkness crap. Sounds right, said Naruto. Okay, I get all that. Crazy crap always happening around you. I even get why you believe her. You're the soft and mushy type. Hell, I don't even care that we're the one taking the brat. Just one thing though. Naruto paused as he turned towards her redhead, as her eye was twitching violently. Yes, said Naruto. Teiwai twitched once more. Why the hell am I the one that has to carry her? Everyone winks a bit, as birds flew out of the trees as animals ran away from Teiwai's shriek. Once Naruto finished rubbing his ear, he turned towards Redhead and smiled. You were the last one up, he said. Teiwai scowled. It wasn't your fault. She was 18. It wasn't her right to get up late in the morning. Fine. But why do we have to carry you at all? And where the hell are your shoes anyway? Shin didn't even look up. I'm afraid I don't speak to full mode credence like you. Teiwai looked over the cliff before looking back at Naruto. Nah, he would be too angry. Where are your shoes? Maiko-sama. Teiwai groaned out the words. As Shin smirked. I spent my entire life in the temple, only venturing out to walk around in the village. I was never required to have shoes, so I never got any. A sad smile came on Naruto's face. Not that anyone could see it. That must have been lonely. Shin snorted. What would you know, monk? Naruto simply remained silent until Teiwai broke it. You should have some spare shoes you can borrow, right, femboy? Haku growled at the jab towards his masculinity. So what if he had more shoes than the group combined? He enjoys a certain standard of comfort and they travel a lot. So what? Oh yeah, and about the right size as well. Haku, before he could growl, he remembered something, as it caused him to smirk. So you're saying you have big feet? Teiwai snorted, a bit disappointed with a weak retort. says the most feminine person in the group, with 3 girls. Shin had to suppress a small giggle at the soft boy reaction. She has never experienced friendly banter in a group like this before. It was amusing, but it didn't take her long to realize that Tewaya had insulted her as well. Hey, you take that back, you uncouth predant, as she pounded Tewaya in the back. Tewaya's eye twitched before a wicked smirk came in her face. That's it! Tewaya shrugged her off as Shin dropped right on the ground. Well, said Naruto as he looked around the clearing, I suppose this is a good place to stop. As he looked back as Shin was picking herself up, glaring daggers at Tewaya. Unless you think we haven't traveled far away enough from your attendants. Shin turned towards Naruto as she muttered something under her breath. No, my attendants won't notice my absence until a change in guard, around 9 in the morning. Only Taro might suspect something, but I managed to slip something into his tea before he went to sleep. He shouldn't wake up until midday tomorrow. Naruto raised an amused eyebrow at that as he looked off into the trees, where they came from. I will not be too sure of that, Shin-sama. Shin turned her head as someone emerged from the tree line. Taro? Her face instantly turned to a scowl as she clenched her fists. What are you doing here, you idiot? She frowned as she stepped forward, only for a force to pull her back. She was confused as she looked up as she was in Naruto's arms. He set her to the side. I wouldn't do that, Maiko-sama. Shin scowled. What are you doing, monk? I may not have wanted Taro here, as he would be nothing but a burn to us, but he's still my attendant. But Naruto simply stared at the man with his Rinnegan eyes, not even blinking. No, he isn't. Taro adjusted his glasses as he looked rather confused. I'm confused, monk-san, he said. I am merely Taro, attendant of Shin-sama. I only wish to bring her back to the safety of our guards and attendants. His gaze hardened slightly. Shin was surprised she never saw him be so, aggressive, with that snarl on his face. The priestess should not be traveling with escorts that are not of her personal guard, as he brought the sword from his back in front of him. Taro, what are you doing? Shin was surprised. He was always a man that settled things peacefully first, never going on to violence at the beginning. Ignore him, Maiko-sama. He's not your attendant. She looked around at Naruto. Why? Do you keep on saying that? How can you be sure? Naruto looked out towards the clearing. Because he is. As a real Taro appeared, as he was panting and he was sweating. He looked quite out of it from his sprint here and from whatever Shin had placed in his drink. Shin-sama, he's an imposter! As Shin took a step back. It's a good transformation, I must admit, but my eyes aren't so easily fooled. As his face turned into a snarl, as his feature released into the man that Naruto sent into a trench earlier. That same white-haired man. Well, that was supposed to be expected. You're strong after all. Now, he shouted. The other 3 men launched themselves from the trees. All of them were stopped by some invisible barrier. Almighty push! The 3 of them finally found out what happened to Kusina back at the temple, as they were sent sailing by gravitational blasts. But the others simply felt a slight breeze that was a part of Naruto's group. The white-haired man looked at Naruto with shock, as he couldn't believe he could get rid of his 3 companions so easily, with the dark chakra coursing through their veins. What are you? He took a step back as Naruto looked around. His gaze then dropped completely on the servant of the great demon. I don't know what you mean, Shinobi-san, he said. I am nothing more than a simple monk. When he finished speaking, he smiled kindly. Kosun just took a step back, his eyes widened with fear. It was like some great demon entity has appeared behind Naruto like a demonic vigil. You're not human. As he shot off from the clearing, Naruto simply raised his hand. Universal pull. There was a moment before. The man screamed as he was sent sailing back, as he landed in a trench right at Naruto's feet. Naruto simply crouched down as he looked the man directly in the eyes. You know, I would appreciate it if you and your companions would stop attacking us. We have something very important that we have to do, and you constantly getting in our way is wasting time. Kosun felt paralyzed as he looked up into those ring eyes. He felt like he was drowning within them. Right. Naruto simply nodded. Alright then, you can go now. Kosun got up without a second thought as he ran for his life in utter fear. As Naruto turned back to the group with a smile. Shall we go then, he said. Fu simply walked off with him, and the others as well, leaving Taro and Shin still completely shocked. Time skip. So you're saying that you failed me? The 4 shinobi kneel in front of a tent, big enough for one person. The man that was inside looked rather unhealthy, his dark hair sticking to his skin, as his voice was rather croaky, but his eyes were deep and dark, burning with power as he glared towards his subordinates. All of them. You couldn't even bring me a single, weak little priestess. The 4 of them flinched. It was like his voice was splitting between 2 different speakers. Kosun gathered up his courage as he looked up, only to instantly look down, as he felt his master presence weighing down on him like a pressure. It was the monk, Yumi-sama. He was too powerful for us. Yumi simply glared at them. The power that he bestowed upon them wasn't enough for a simple lonely monk. He was about to rebuke them, but he heard a voice in his head. As he calmed down a bit, "What monk?" he said. Kusuna let out a deep breath of not being torn apart. As he looked up into his master's eyes, he didn't look special, but he had great power. He could send us flying away without even moving a single muscle, saying and using great techniques I have never heard of before. Yumi's eyes narrowed as the voice in his mind became more louder and more demanding. What was the name of this technique, he asked. Kusuna frowned as he wondered what was his master's fascination with the young monk. As to him, there was no one powerful than Yumi-sama, as his master had the spirit of Muryu inside his body after all. As he tried to remember what the boy said, as he didn't remember, it was the almighty push, sir. Yumi grasped his head in pain, crying out as the voice became a scream. The four of them were about to get to their feet to help their master, but his eyes snapped towards him, freezing them in place. His eyes weren't human anymore. They became completely black. So, they have resurfaced again. His voice was raspy and dark. But the next second, his eyes returned back to normal, and Yumi had control once again. He shook his head at the loud voice, as the dark in his mind screamed at him. Go, all of you, destroy the priestess. Do not fail me or Muryu-sama ever again. Kusuna nodded, as the others rushed off. But Kusuna stayed right there. Yumi-sama, what do we do about the monk, he asked. The dark-haired man looked up as he still looked incredibly sick, despite the large weight of power racking off of his body. Nothing. When the time comes, I will deal with him myself. Just make sure if he enters the sealing ground, he enters alone. His glare intensified as Kusuna felt a sweat break out over his body. The others are expendable. Do you understand me? But make sure you leave the monk alone. Kusuna nodded as he took a step back. Of course, Yumi-sama, he said. Yes, this is perfect, the dark voice said in Yumi's mind. Time skip. The group had stopped as Torho was apologizing to Naruto. Well, not for him. I would like to apologize for Shin-sama's behavior towards you and your friends. She has a hard time voicing her gratitude, and Naruto placed hand on the man's shoulder. There is no need for you to apologize on her behalf, Torho, said Naruto. You might just think of me as a teenager or a sheltered monk, but trust me, I understand. As he turned towards the water, raging down below them, Shin had a very lonely childhood, didn't she? Torho eyes widened a bit before he nodded, as he remembered back to the first days when he became her attendant. Lady Shin, like all the priestess of Oni no Kuni, like before her, has the ability to see into the future. Limited. Naruto raised the eyebrow but said nothing. He could hardly talk when it came to strange abilities. She gained small glimpses into the future of those around her, allowing her to see their deaths. Let me guess, said Naruto. People avoided her, fearing that she would foresee their death. They would stay away because of a power she had no control over. As Torho looked at Naruto, it seems like he has been through a lot as well. Just from the way that he spoke of it, like it was something he knew of. Yes. Despite the respect they had for her and her mother, they didn't want her gift turning towards them. The way you spoke about this, it sounds like experience, Monk-san, said Torho. Naruto turned back around, a smile on his face. Thank you, Torho, he said. I think I understand better now, but we should be getting back, it's late. And we have a long journey ahead of us, tomorrow. Time skip. No. Put me down. This is too fast. Shin's scream and protests were barely heard by the raging river, blocking out most of the sound. As the group dashed across the forest floor behind them, Torho tried to keep up with them, but Naruto made sure their pace was not going too fast, so he could. But despite the obvious exertion put on man, he never spoke out. He was just keeping a clean eye out to protect Lady Shin. But Shin didn't appreciate it at all, as she was on TY's back, TY being the last one up once again. Pipe down. You're going to scare off the birds with those banshee cries of yours. Shin couldn't say anything as she had to grab on TY's shoulders. Slow down or put me down, as TY just jumped over a small valley. Oh, I'll put you down, alright, if you keep on screaming at me, princess. Torho, help me. This maniac son dropped me. Torho. But it wasn't Torho that appeared next to the two girls, it was Naruto. As he placed a hand on the girl's shoulder as he stopped at a large oak tree. It's alright, TY. I'll carry her for a bit. TY didn't argue as he shrugged the girl off her back. But she didn't get the job as Naruto caught her as he placed her on his back. as her arms wrapped around his chest. What are you doing? She phoned her voice, lost in all the strength, as she tried to withdraw into her jacket. Come on, we need to catch up with the rest of the group. Shane simply nodded as she tried to fight back the blush. As this was much better. It seemed like he was sliding across the ground like it was made of ice. And not even the wind was getting into her eyes and bothering her. It was like the wind was being bent around them. But she didn't realize they haven't caught up the group yet. Monk? I know. Don't worry about them, said Naruto. In truth, Shane hadn't been thinking about the others. But she didn't want to disappoint the blonde, so she said nothing. You can come out now, he said. The ground broke open as those same purple snakes tried to grab him. He vanished as he reappeared on top of a tree. As he placed Shane down. Stay right here, I'll be right back, he said. As he jumped off the tree and landed, crushing one of the snake's head. But it was just a diversion. As the ground exploded as he had to jump back. As he watched, the man pulled himself out of the earth, his skin and bones knitting together. You can't win, Monk. Whatever you do, it won't stop me. With Morio-sama gift rushing through me, I can simply heal from anything you throw at me. As Naruto started to roll up his sleeves. Okay, let's test that, he said. Meanwhile, Fu's sai as ground was ripped apart with a water blade. It was rather painfully slow. As she was falling back down, the blade of water came back, but the wings came from her back as she flew in the air. It couldn't even touch her up here. If this is all the power you can bring, you might as well stay still and let me deal with you now, so I can go back to Naruto's side. The orange-haired man appeared in the tree aside from her. Such confidence and dedication. His eyes went over her body as he licked his lips. Not to mention your ability. So unique. Fu went down and she landed on a branch as her wings fell back into her back. Fu quickly speed through hand sign. Do you wish to see a true water technique, she said. Water from the air and what was left over from the man's last technique came behind her. The gathering water blew upwards, confusing the man, until it started to come back down, now a dirty, muddy color. He tried to avoid it, but it was like avoiding rain, as he was soaked, covered from head to toe in the sticky, black muddy water. Was that it, girlie? Was that all your little technique could do? Get me a little wet. Fu held her hand up in the tiger seal. A small orange flame come on her fingertip. Yes, now disappear. As she touched it with her finger. It rushed forward as the man watched as it caught. The flame. It was a strange oil. The man screamed as a rushing inferno blocked out all the noise of his screaming. After a moment, Fu released it as the flames died down to show the man in the center of the burned clearing. It's not enough, girlie. You can't stop Morio-sama. He will crush you all. Fu looked down at the man as the man was twitching. Fu simply walked off. She cared little for what happened to him, as long as he was no longer a threat. Meanwhile, Haku slipped out of the giant fist that was coming towards him. They were strong but incredibly slow. Hold still, you little brat! The man brought both of his fists down, cracking the earth only for Haku to flip away, as he landed softly on the ground. That would defeat the purpose of dodging. The man, if you remember correctly, his name was Jitai, as he kept on screaming it. While his attacks were slow, they were enhanced and powerful. But it had to be some performance. Jugs or something like that. His eyes were diluted. His mouth was even foaming at the side. Running like a little girl. Pathetic. Fight me, you coward. Haku simply slipped away. If he was going to rise to a taunt like that, he would have lost his cool a long time ago with Teiwaya. Damn it, I hate fighting little girls. They always run, the man said. Well, Haku did have his limits. What did you call me? The constant mocking of Teiwaya. It always made things worse. I know he started to think about his appearance a lot. And now this man. As Jito felt the air getting colder and colder, Jitai shrugged, as he did not notice Haku going through one-handed seals. Did I strike a nerve, girlie? He rushed forward as Haku was standing still. Hayaton, Haku said. Haku vanished. Without even a blur, the man winced as a small cut was in his side. As he felt small cuts appearing all over his body. As he found it hard to move as ice was creeping over his body when Haku finally reappeared. Jitai couldn't even move as the ice had completely overtaken his body. I hate being called a girl. I'm just slightly feminine, he said, as he walked off. Meanwhile, you call that shuriken? Pathetic, Teiwaya said, as both her and her opponents run through the trees. As Teiwaya taunted the man wickedly by even running backwards, he fired shurikens that were controlled by his wing techniques that tried to slice her up. She didn't even remember his name as he wasn't even a challenge. Seriously, is this all you got? Her opponent, which she could tell was the normal, silent type, was getting riled up by her taunting. Wind style, kamikaze, as he blew out a mighty breath. The wind twisted into 3 tornadoes, rotating right towards her. The wind attack consumed her and ripped her body to pieces. As the man simply chuckled, until he heard laughter behind him. That's it? Kami, you suck. He turned only to receive a wicked punch in the face as he was sent sailing back. You don't even realize how outclassed you are you? The man growled, but as he reached out to go through more hand signs, he was frozen. His hands were immobilized. Looking down, he saw dark chains coming from the tree line. It wrapped up his arms and his legs. Teowai snapped her finger as the chains pulled. As his body was spread wide open, Teowai walked forward as her hair spread out. Horns came from her forehead as she pulled out a single senbon from her kimono. As she picked at her nail with it. Like I said, you're out of your league. As her body turned more and more demonic. Welcome to your own personal hell, she said, as she tossed the senbon right into his chest, piercing his heart. But there was no blood. No sweet release of death. The man looked down as senbon was replaced with a kunai, but still, he didn't die. Oh, you think you were going to die, she said. Sorry, but we're just getting started. As she ripped the kunai out, birds scattered from the trees. As it was like music to Teowai's ears, the man screams of pure agony. Meanwhile, Teowai slid her foot back into her kimono top. As she looked down at the man on the ground. Damn, no challenge at all. Falling for a weak genjutsu like that, she nudged him with her foot as he rolled up into a tight small ball. He pissed himself, she said. She sighed, pathetic, as she simply walked off. Meanwhile, as Naruto crushed another snake, Kusuner had made his way off. As the man had run away after sending a swarm of these snakes after him, as he went back up to the tree branch, Naruto sighed. Would it kill her to listen to him and follow instructions for once? As Shin was gone. Meanwhile, Shin stumbled once again. She was no fool. She was going to be caught up in the crossfire of people using chakra. As she fell, her foot catching under a shrub, she started to regret leaving Naruto's side. As she looked around, she heard something. Hello? Hoping to see a familiar face. Hell, even Teowai would be a good sight right now. Monk? She turned as the bushes settled from the wind. Yes, it was probably just the wind, she thought to herself. She screamed as a hand placed on her shoulder. She lashed out trying to protect herself, but her hand was grabbed. As she saw who it was, Toru. As she ran forward and buried her face into his chest, he simply smiled as he wrapped his arms around her. She never noticed the snakes coming out of the man's sleeves as they reared their fangs back to bite into her. Shin-sama! The snakes were sliced with a blade as Shin was pulled away. Shin was confused. Toru? The real one? Which one of them was it? The two men stood there, their swords raised. She backed away as she couldn't tell which one of them was a real attendant. She couldn't detect a transformation. Yeah, whatever Naruto called it. Shin-sama, run. Get away for your own safety, one of them said. Don't listen to him, Shin-sama. If you run away, you'll be led right into their trap, the other one said. The both of them resumed, glaring at each other, as the both of them moved in perfect synchrony, as she couldn't tell which one of them was real Toru. Stop this! Both of you, she said. Only one of you is real Toru, so I'm ordering the both of you to put down your blades. But neither of them made a move to comply with her demand. I'm sorry, Shin-sama, but when your safety is at risk, I must ignore your commands, as the other one turned to her. I'm afraid. Same goal for me, Shin-sama. The both of them rushed forward, their blade clashed together. Sparks filling the entire clearing. From there, she couldn't see what was going on. Toru might not be a shinobi, but he was a proud samurai before he became her attendant, and he knew to use chakra to enhance his movements. Finally, they disengaged. One of them had a few scratches across his arms and clothing. Your appearance may be a perfect duplicate, but you could never master the art of a sword like a true samurai, the other one said. The injured Toru features start to melt away, revealing the white-haired shinobi. This might have been amusing at first, but without that monk around, it is rather pointless, the man said. Toru shifted stance. Oh, this isn't a sword game anymore, boy. Let me show you how a real shinobi fight. The man vanished in a flicker of movement, causing Toru to sweat as he lost sight of him, as Toru couldn't see him anywhere, as he frowned and he couldn't find the man. Wrong again. Before Toru could say anything, 4 snakes burst from the ground as they wrapped around him tightly, as he lost his sword. As one of the snakes appeared in front of him, the fangs dripping a strange venom. Toru! Shin screamed out. But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, if you want some sports channels, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything, guys, over on Anime King 2. And over Anime King 3, I posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and had Jashin sealed inside of him. So go ahead and enjoy it as well. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoyed videos on both Anime King 2, Anime King 3, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. And yeah, I'm off now. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.